Okay, so first and foremost, when you're arriving to the student's location, you want to make sure that you exit the vehicle, get out of the vehicle. You could crack your windows, roll them down a bit. Just wait at the front of your car just for the student. Shake his hand. If it's the first lesson, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you do this. As it goes on, then you don't have to exit your vehicle because they already expect you. And one thing, be very well aware, you do not start out the lesson by letting the student jump directly into the vehicle. You're exiting just to greet, just to introduce. 50% of the time, you're gonna see a parent exit the house with the student. What they wanna do is just make sure you're a normal person, you're a real person. You gotta understand what we're doing. It's a concept that hasn't really been done before, so there's a bit of skepticism that comes with it. They just want a quick, hey, how are you doing? So what you could do, and what we highly recommend, is take full responsibility of being the expert. When you're introducing yourself to the parent, it should be no longer than about 1 to 2 minutes. How are you? Introduce you, your name, and then start out with 2 basic questions you're gonna ask every new student. So, first question, how many times has the student been behind the wheel of a vehicle? Second question, when was the last time this student has been behind the wheel of a vehicle? You can ask this question when it's the parents both there together, and it's just gonna get them talking a little bit. And if you wanna dive a little bit deeper, you could also ask, how was that last experience being behind the wheel of the vehicle? And one question that the parents love, so you could end it here, ask them, is there anything that they noticed that the student struggled with that they would like to improve on and they would like to build on? And once they're always going to give you the heads up of how it's been. After you're done with that, then you say, okay, we're starting out with our fundamental trainings. No matter their skill set, their experience level, let them know that we're going to build the foundations of their driving. Depending on how quickly they could get through that, it varies from student to student. Then we start tailoring the lessons towards whatever the student mainly needs to focus on, which is determined by you, and that's determined within just your experience and also this conversation that you have with the parent when they let you know what they would like for the student to get better at. So moving forward to our training process and the 4 steps. Every lesson should progress through 4 steps. Number 1, a residential stop sign intersection. Number 2, a single lane road, no multi-lane roads. If you do get in a multi-lane road, make sure you're in the right lane and you're taking the next immediately right to get out of there. Number 3, it's a multi-lane road. And then number 3 is when we teach them how to merge between traffic. And number 4 is tying all of those skills together and then working on what you feel the student needs to focus on most. Now starting out at number 1. Your residential intersection. We start out at a simple stop sign somewhere in their neighborhood, usually about 2-3 streets away from their house. If it is a rough neighborhood with bad streets, it's okay. You can take the drive 5-10 minutes away to a better location where you seem fit, where you can start this training. Reason we do a residential stop sign, because this intersection, they're gonna come across it more than any other intersection or hazard when they're driving. When you get in your car and you're getting on the road, you're gonna hit about 4 or 5 stop signs before you actually get on the highway or avenue. So we wanna make sure we got the basics down before we get out there in the multi-lane roads with the stoplight intersections, because the same rules that apply there will be the exact same rules that will be starting out with the residential roads. Now let me paint a picture how this should look. As you're approaching the stop sign, don't just directly jump out the vehicle and give the student the driver's seat. You should perform the maneuver, perform a pedestrian stop. Look left, look right, as if somebody was crossing the street. Stop there as if they were and you gave them enough space to cross. After you've done your pedestrian stop, move forward to your visual stop. This is where you creep forward. There shouldn't be any acceleration. Just creeping forward till you're getting a better visual, until you can see all the way to the left side of the road and you can see all the way down to the right side of the road. Let the student know that every intersection will not be picture perfect. So sometimes they're gonna have to ease up with their body so they could get a better visual to the left and to the right. You should be showing them this before you put them behind the driver's seat. The main thing that you're teaching them after you're teaching them those 2 stops is the different angles they're gonna be at. So whenever you're driving, just think about what you're going through. Use the training modules, use this video to help yourself out, but just think about what you're doing when you're driving and do your best to explain to the student what works for you, because if you can do a good job of that, then it's going to work for them also. So for example, you're making a right turn. You usually angle yourself to the right while you're approaching that visual stop, and then you come to a complete stop, and you're setting yourself up for a better angle to make that right turn. When you're going straight or when you're turning left, you do not do the same. Obviously, you can't angle yourself to the left because then we're in somebody else's lane. So you got to teach them these basic things because they are not aware, they do not understand these basic things as they're getting out and getting behind the wheel of the vehicle. You got to understand that they've never been there, so it's something they have never done before, so they're going to be a bit uncomfortable. So we got to slowly build in that comfort. The only way to build comfort for doing something you've never done before is going through it slowly, picking up and learning step by step and not just flying through it. So once you teach them all of the angles of that stop sign, you should stay at that stop sign for at least the first 5 to 10 minutes of your lesson. No lessons should progress through your first stop sign anytime before 5 minutes, because after you've gone through it, you got to go up once. Let's say you're going straight, then you got to put it in reverse, act like you're making a right turn. Just tell them the different angle you're taking, put it in reverse, go up again as if you're taking a left turn, explain why you're being in certain positions, why you're not angling yourself in certain positions, and then after you've done that 3 times, then you will be placing a student in the driver's seat of the vehicle. Many students have never been behind the wheel of a vehicle before, so that's why it's great to ask this question. You got to make sure they understand the controls of the vehicle. They got to understand how the vehicle works. So help them adjust their seat. When they exit the vehicle and they come around, sit there with them. Don't just jump directly into the passenger seat because they don't know what's going on there. It's like a spaceship to them. So hold the door open, tell them the seat controls, tell them the foot placement. Now this is a good skill note. Think about what you're doing when you're driving. When you're driving, do you have your foot levitated in the air, or do you have your heel rested on the ground in a comfortable position, sort of in the middle of both pedals? So you can easily move your foot to the left, move your foot to the right for the brake or the gas pedal. Students do not think about these things. So your student will be hovering their foot the whole time, and by the end of their lesson, they're gonna be like, crap, I didn't know that driving was this difficult. In reality, all you gotta do is tell them to rest their heel on the ground, find a comfortable position where they could go left to right and press down on the brake pedal. You don't wanna do the gas because the engine will rev, but just make sure they got a good distance where they can press on the brake pedal without extending their leg. If your student has to extend their leg, tell them that they're too far back. Push up their chair, and then you'll be able to see them move their feet, press down on the brake without moving their leg much, just movement of their ankle. So that's a good technique to use. Once they're set and they're adjusted, you go back around to the passenger seat, you get back in the vehicle, and you're explaining a bit further the controls of the vehicle. First and foremost, make sure that you set your rear view mirror to adjustments how they need it. And then the second thing that you want to cover is the gears of the vehicle. Let them know that gears are different for every vehicle. No two vehicle, well, very rarely will you see the same vehicle in 10 of different cars. So what I mean by that, some vehicles have the gear shift behind the steering wheel. Some vehicles still have the gear shift, whereas the classic one, the traditional, some of the newer model vehicles have the turns and gear shifts, and like Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, they have a little knob where you just go forward, and everyone's a bit different. So be aware of that and let them know of that. Tell them that should not concern them at all. What they should be looking for is the gear shift. Where's the location of it? There, it can only be in 2 locations, right next to you or behind the steering wheel. Once they find it, every gear shift should have painted in bold, drive, reverse, neutral. It should be there like in park. So it should be there very easily for them to understand. Once they understand where those gears are located, then you got to teach them how to put the vehicle in drive. So tell them no vehicle, no matter what vehicle you get in, will go into drive. You won't be able to change the gear shift unless your foot is pressed on a brake pedal, no matter what vehicle you're in. So they're not thinking these things, they haven't done it before, so don't be surprised. Once they learn how to go through the gear shifts, have them go through them all once or twice, then put them back in park, and then teach them how to turn the steering wheel. One thing that you'll tell them to do is turn the wheel all the way to the right, and you'll see many of them inch it around. Tell them to turn it all the way to the left, you'll see them inch it around. As soon as you see them inch it, that's where you're gonna make the correction. Say, hey, you gotta make sure that you're doing more of a pulling motion, a pull and reinforce, we call it. So when you're turning to the right, you're pulling with your left hand. Pull your left hand all the way down around, and then you reinforce and reset. Pull all the way down around, reinforce and reset. Same thing when you're going to the left. You're pulling with your right hand. Tell them to pull all the way around, reinforce, reset. Pull all the way around, reinforce, reset. Once you teach them that and they do that while sitting still, I promise you, that's going to save you so much anxiety throughout training. Obviously, they may not do it perfectly every single time moving forward, but the improvement level will be up to about 85%, and that 15% that they aren't doing well, it's a small reminder where you just got to say, hey, make sure you're pulling, and it's a quick catch on. So these are the things you're covering at a stop sign intersection. This should be the most amount of information you're spilling to the student. And then one thing that you want to do with a student, one thing that I grew it was a great benefit for every student that I had. I started them out about 30 feet back behind the stop sign, because there's a small drill that you could do, a skills test that could be a great improvement for them before going to the stop sign intersection. So you have to realize when you're at the visual stop, you're at a complete stop, and then, when you're at a pedestrian, you're completely stopped. When you're going forward to the visual stop, it's only about a 5 feet distance there where you're traveling. Students don't understand how the leverages work with the brakes and the gas pedal. So within your first lesson, you should try your hardest not to use the acceleration at all if you don't have to. Your driving you should be in residential areas, so your driving should consist of at least 75% brake pedal and explanation. And then as you're going to the next stop sign, if you get to that point, you could teach them how to use a little bit of acceleration by simply being direct and being very, very blatant with your words. You can't be in the sense of saying slower or faster. They don't understand speed of vehicles. You got to tell them literally, lift up your foot, put it over to the right. I want you to hover your foot over the right, hover your foot over the left. Tell them very literal every single thing that you need them to do. Say, hey, ask them what speed limits they're going. Say, what speed are you going? They say it's 30, and then you know the speed limit is 25. Say, okay, I need you to drop your speed limit to 25. They won't understand slow, fast. If you put analytics and logic in front of them, saying, yo, what are you doing right now? They say it out loud, tell them what they need to do. They will make that adjustment, and it will be very, very beneficial for you. The skill that we're getting at before you go forward with the stop sign intersection training, once they understand the controls of the vehicle, once they understand how everything works, roll down your windows about halfway. You exit the passenger seat of the vehicle. Tell the student not to worry at all. You're just going to do a small skill which teaches them how to use their brake pedal. When you exit the vehicle, you shut your door, go to the driver's side, and you want to try to keep your hand on the driver's door so it gives them a sense of connection of how fast they're going. What you tell them, the whole goal is for them to try to go the exact same speed as you're walking, and they cannot do their hardest, do their very best to not come to a complete stop. So as you're walking your pace, you're gonna notice that they're learning how to use the brake pedal. If they lift their foot up all the way off the brake pedal, they're gonna go right past you, and they're gonna realize that. So this is where they realize how you could drive in between 0 and 1 mile an hour and have complete control over your vehicle. The reason why this is a good skill to teach them, because that's the exact speed that they're gonna go once they do the pedestrian stop and they move forward to the visual stop. You don't want them just going straight over to the gas pedal and jump into it. These are things that you're integrating.